All right, welcome to The Explainer. Today we're diving into something truly game-changing, Nassim Nicholas Taleb's brilliant book, Antifragile, Things That Gain from Disorder. I mean, have you ever noticed how some things just completely shatter the second they get stressed, while others bounce back like nothing happened? But actually, there's a third category, a category of things that don't just survive the chaos, pressure, and uncertainty, they literally require it to grow stronger and thrive. And that is exactly what we're exploring today. So what if your desire for safety is actually putting you in danger? It sounds crazy, right? In our fast-paced world, we spend so much time trying to build stability. We make these flawless, detailed plans, we build protective bubbles, and we try our absolute hardest to just eliminate stress. We think we're making ourselves safe. But when an unexpected shock actually hits, those systems that looked indestructible often just crumble in an instant. Taleb makes this incredible argument that our obsession with control and safety has actually made us wildly vulnerable. To really navigate an uncertain world, we have to entirely rethink how we manage risk. Okay, let's look at the roadmap for today. First, the problem with safety. Second, understanding the core triad. Third, the mechanics of growth. Fourth, the risk management toolkit. And finally, building an anti-fragile life.
Section 1. The problem with safety. The danger of over-optimization.
Modern society has this really dangerous habit that Taleb calls naive interventionism. The forest fire analogy illustrates this perfectly. For decades, forest management policies focused heavily on step one, put out every tiny fire immediately, which, makes total sense on paper, protect the forest, right? But look at step two. By eliminating those small natural fires, tons of dried wood and brush just accumulated unchecked on the forest floor over time. We took away the minor stressors, which led directly to step three. When one small spark finally slipped past the firefighters, it triggered a massive, uncontrollable wildfire that destroyed the entire ecosystem. This exact same pattern applies to economics, parenting, and medicine. When we constantly eliminate small stressors, we're basically paving the way for monumental disasters. We're trading small, manageable volatility for these massive hidden vulnerabilities. Moving on to Section 2, understanding the core triad: fragile, robust, and anti-fragile. To really grasp Taleb's core message, let's picture a simple spectrum. First, the fragile. Think of a delicate glass vase. You drop it, it breaks. End of story. It absolutely hates volatility and uncertainty. It needs perfectly smooth conditions just to survive. Next, we have the robust. Picture a solid block of granite. You hit it with a hammer, it just resists the impact. It doesn't gain or lose from the disorder. It just endures. But keep in mind, even robustness has a limit. Hit it hard enough, and granite shatters too. Finally, we reach our new paradigm, the anti-fragile. Think of the mythical Hydra. You cut off one of its heads, and two new ones grow right back in its place. It doesn't just survive the shock. It actively feeds on it to become more powerful. So here is the crucial takeaway. Antifragility describes systems that do not merely resist stress, but actively require stress, volatility, and disorder to improve and thrive. The most relatable example is your own body. When you lift heavy weights, you're not being gentle. You're literally creating microscopic tears in your muscle fibers. You're introducing stress and trauma. And your body responds to that specific stress by building back stronger tissue. Without that physical stress, your body doesn't just stay the same. It actually atrophies and weakens. Section 3. The mechanics of growth. How systems gain from disorder. The secret here lies in a biological phenomenon called hormesis. It's where a small dose of a physical challenge actually stimulates the body to strengthen its defense mechanisms. Think about cold showers, fasting, or intense exercise. When you fast, for example, your cells undergo this amazing cleanup process, removing damaged components and leaving you healthier overall. The challenge triggers the adaptation. But notice the emphasis on small dose. That is the key to hormesis. A small stressor followed by adequate rest equals growth. But an overwhelming, continuous stressor with zero recovery, that just leads to a total breakdown. Antifragility requires this really dynamic, rhythmic balance between challenging exposure and deep restoration. Section 4. The Risk Management Toolkit, Strategies for Uncertainty. To actually manage this uncertainty, Taleb suggests what he calls the barbell strategy. Instead of taking a middle-of-the-road, moderate approach to risk, which often hides massive vulnerabilities, you combine two extreme positions. Check this out. You put 90% of your capital into extremely safe, low-risk assets like cash or government bonds, things that basically cannot be destroyed. Then you put the remaining 10% into highly speculative, extremely high upside opportunities. You completely avoid the middle. Why? Because if those speculative bets fail, your total loss is strictly capped at 10%. You easily survive to play another day. But if just one of those speculative bets hits, your upside is virtually unlimited. It's brilliant. You protect yourself against total ruin while staying fully exposed to massive positive surprises.
And this brings us right to the heartbeat of the barbell strategy: favorable asymmetry. You are anti-fragile whenever the potential upside of an action is significantly larger than the potential downside. The mechanism to achieve this is called optionality. Having an option gives you the right, but not the obligation, to take action. Innovators and entrepreneurs use this constantly through trial and error. They run dozens of small, low-cost experiments. When an experiment fails, no big deal. The downside is incredibly small, so they just discard it. But occasionally, one experiment yields a breakthrough that pays off 1,000-fold. They don't need to predict the future perfectly. They just need to tinker, keep their losses small, and let favorable asymmetry do the heavy lifting.
Now, we can't really talk about risk without talking about who actually bears it. Look at this wild quote from the ancient Code of Hammurabi. It's intense, right? If a builder constructs a house that collapses and kills the owner, the builder pays with his own life. This perfectly captures Taleb's concept of skin in the game. That harsh ancient rule ensured builders paid extreme attention to structural integrity because their own lives were quite literally on the line. Compare that to modern society. Today, you see financial consultants or corporate managers collecting massive bonuses for taking wild risks that boost short-term profits. But when those decisions eventually blow up the system, they face zero personal loss. They don't have skin in the game. When people take risks without bearing the consequences of failure, they're just transferring their fragility onto everyone else. Another massive source of modern fragility is how we view time and technology. We often suffer from what's called neomania, this irrational obsession with the newest trends, the latest apps, and the most cutting-edge theories. We just automatically assume new equals better. But Taleb introduces the Lindy effect. The Lindy effect basically states that for non-perishable things like ideas or technologies, future life expectancy is proportional to its current age. If a book has been in print for 50 years, you can reliably expect it to be relevant for another 50 years. Most new things actually fail very quickly when they're exposed to the disorder of the real world. Time-tested ancient wisdom, classic literature, and historical habits, they've already proven their anti-fragility by surviving centuries of shocks. This perspective on time builds directly into our next tool, the principle of via negativita. When we try to improve our health or our finances, human instinct is incredibly additive. We want to add a new supplement, download a new productivity app, or buy some complex new financial instrument. But real improvement usually comes through subtraction. Removing a harmful element from your life is far more effective and vastly less risky than adding a complex new solution. Think about it. Removing ultra-processed foods and chronic stress does way more for your health than taking a dozen synthetic vitamins. Eliminating high-interest debt protects your wealth infinitely better than buying a convoluted investment product. Anti-fragility is often achieved simply by finding and removing the things that make you fragile in the first place.
Section 5. Building an anti-fragile life. Applying the framework.
All right, here are your 5 key takeaways to start applying this paradigm shift right now. Number 1, embrace small stressors. Stop hiding from discomfort. Lean into physical exertion and difficult learning tasks to build up your capacity. Number 2, cap your maximum downside. Always ensure that no single mistake or market crash can eliminate you completely from the game. Number 3, seek positive asymmetry. Build options into your life. Try new things where the cost of failure is tiny, but the potential upside is huge. Number 4, practice via negativity. Subtract your toxic habits and debts before trying to add new, complex solutions. And number 5, trust time-tested wisdom. Lean on the habits and principles that have survived the Lindy effect, rather than chasing every single fleeting novelty. Uncertainty, chaos, and unexpected shocks, they are just an inevitable part of the human experience. We absolutely cannot predict when the next storm will arrive, but we have total control over how we build our lives before it hits. So I'll leave you with this question to ponder. The next unexpected shock is inevitable. Will it break you or will it make you stronger? Stop trying to make your world perfectly predictable and start building the habits that actually thrive in the chaos. Thanks for joining me on this explainer, and I'll catch you on the next one.